Welcome to Unlearn the Crap TV with your host, Kathy Baldwin. Unlearn the Crap TV is more than just a show. It's a movement towards breaking free from the disempowering structures designed to benefit the few at the expense of the many. It's about education, healing, and unlearning the detrimental beliefs that have been ingrained in society for generations. So now, please welcome the host of Unlearn the Crap TV, Kathy Baldwin.
Happy New Year! Welcome to 2025. Today is January the 2nd, and today is the first episode of Unlearn the Crap for the New Year. I am so excited about the new year, and I am so excited about our guest that we have today. The reason is part of how I unlearned my crap, how I unlearned the disempowering condition responses and automatic programming was I learned how to take control of my mind. And my next guest is my secret sauce. And so I am so excited to be able to help you understand how you can take anything that is in your way and you can purposefully design your life around changing your own brain wiring. Now, there's a whole pile of science behind it, and the creator of this is going to explain all of it to you. This is not woo-woo. This is science. Welcome, Morry Zelcovitch.
Thank you very
Hello.
much. It's an absolute pleasure to be here, Kathy. Thanks for having me.
Morry, I told you that I wanted to particularly put you on this show because we have a tendency to do these New Year's resolutions. And science has proven that 97% of the New Year's resolutions are gone in the first 2 weeks. And so I really wanted people to know that they don't have to just create these airy-fairy dreams of what they want to accomplish. They can really make choices and create a new life.
Yeah, it's interesting how when you don't understand something, fear creeps in, doubt creeps in, all these different issues creep in. But when we understand the workings of why 95% of what we want, we end up never even going after, really, it takes away the fear. And when it takes away the fear and that deer in the headlight syndrome, it takes away a lot of the reasons why we fail. And instead of failing, we learn. Because in truth, there's no such thing as failure unless we don't learn something from it. So I spent 40 years of my life wanting to be dead because I wasn't learning anything. I wasn't getting the message. I finally figured out that there was a message there. And when I did, that's when everything started to change. So I don't make New Year's resolutions. I find them to be depressing and a waste of time because I never do anything with them. At the beginning of this, before we went live, you wished me a happy new year, and I followed up back with, I wish you a happy every day. So I encourage everyone to treat every day like a new day, like a new year, and make it important, make it worthwhile. And then you won't have to make resolutions because you'll take care of yourself, not because you want to look better, but because it'll allow you to enjoy your life more. It's our motivation. I got to fit into that bathing suit in time for the summer. I have to fit into my old, evening dress. Yes, I wear dresses. The secret is out. So that's the whole thing, right? When we have the right motivation for the right reason, we do the right thing. If we're not doing the right thing, we need to look at our motivation. We need to look at why we're doing it in the first place, because that's usually where the discongruity occurs. And again, It's all about understanding. Now, one thing I just want to point out before we go any further is I have a deep authoritative voice. And a lot of people believe what I say simply because I speak with this deep authoritative voice. I want you to know that I can only be an expert in myself, not in you. You can only be an expert in you. If you learn something from Oprah Winfrey, from Deepak Chopra, from Tony Robbins, from Wayne Dyer, from any of the biggies out there, remember that in fact, they can only teach based on their experience, not yours. So tailor everything to fit you before you act on it. You'll be much more likely to succeed. Don't tailor it. Just go as a blueprint because, Morry said so or Tony said so. Not that I'm including myself in that same category, but I'm here. I'm the one talking right now. So when we tailor something to fit ourselves, then there's a much better chance it's going to work for us. How many of us have tried so many things and failed, not succeeded? We still have that extra weight. We still have that poor self-esteem. We still have, the dirty teeth or the yellow teeth or the green teeth or the brown teeth or whatever our situation is. Again, it's only there to tell you that something is amiss and action needs to be taken. But don't take my action. If you resonate with something I say, reinterpret it, reimagine it, tailor it to fit you. And then if it still resonates with you, that's when you're likely to succeed. And I encourage you to take action at that point. So sorry for going off on a hyper tangent right to
No,
start.
no, no. But you did say something that I'm sure caught people unawares, because you're talking about being able to make choices and do whatever we want and follow our heart. But 40 years of your life, you wanted to be dead. I mean, there's a real contrast in that statement. Could you?
A little,
Could
yeah, I can
you?
see where you're getting
Yeah.
at.
So we're in the new year. Things are changing. We're in this massive paradigm shift. Talk about a paradigm shift. How did you go from 40 years of wishing that you were dead to where we are today? There was a moment. There was something that happened.
Well, I tried to kill myself 6 times that I'm aware of. I've self-harmed myself probably hundreds, if not thousands of times. The thing is, if I wanted to end my life, once should have been enough. It took me 6 times to realize that. I'm not the smartest bulb in the array, apparently. But that being said, I realized that if I can't find a way to die, I have to find a way to live. Because I
Yeah.
couldn't go on the way I was feeling. I used to wake up every morning and cross my fingers, look out the window, and hope I'd see mushroom clouds. Because if I did, it would mean I wouldn't have to live to see another day and live through another day. I had an amazing affirmation. Even to this day, I still think it's very dramatic. Sickening, but dramatic. Life is a disease for which there is no cure but death. I must have repeated that. I mean, it feels like a million times or more. Maybe not, but it felt like that. It was running through my head nonstop, nonstop, nonstop. I went camping one day with a bunch of friends, and back in those days, I was an addict, and I couldn't sleep unless I smoked a really big joint. So everybody else had gone to bed. I rolled myself a really big fat joint, maybe this long, this big around. And I figured it's going to take me at least half an hour to smoke this thing. So I'm sitting around the campfire and I'm toking away. And it felt like half an hour was done. So I'm really stoned now. I can finally sleep. I looked at my watch and it was about 4 or 5 hours later. That was the first time in my life time went fast.
Wow.
I'm 63 years old now. I feel like I'm almost 1,000 years old. Not because of aches and pains, because actually I feel better physically now than I ever have in my life. But I feel that old because for me at least, when I was depressed and super depressed, time crawled.
Yeah.
A minute felt like an hour or more. So that's why I feel like I'm almost 1,000, because I've got 63 real years, or what we call real years, and the rest of it is implied through how I felt and how I experienced life.
Okay, so you had this horrible attitude. Life was really hard. You were an addict. And here I'm telling everybody that you're my secret sauce.
Okay, so when I said that I couldn't find a way to die, I had to find a way to live, that started me trying to do whatever I could do to feel better. And that's where the
Mhm.
addictions came in. So I was addicted to drugs, addicted to alcohol, addicted to sex, all of which made my life a misery, just made everything worse. Uh, I then thought, well, maybe I need medical help. So I went to see doctors and clinicians and even a surgeon here and there. And none of them helped me. I think they thought I was BSing them because I would
Mhm.
laugh. I was a bit of a class clown, kind of. I mean, a lot of funny guys end up killing themselves. You've probably seen
Yeah.
that in Hollywood and things like that.
Yeah.
So, I figured that didn't help. Then I started seeing homeopaths and naturopaths and Chinese medicine doctors and all these other people. And they also did nothing for me. I tried supplements and supplements. I tried electrical like stimulation. I tried shock therapy. I tried, anything and everything I could get my hands on. I realized at some point that, because I got to give you some reason to have me as your secret sauce, right? so, so what happened was I decided it was time to maybe try to understand what was going on, and that might help me find a direction. So I went to what I call the paper internet. Can you glean what that might be?
Would that be encyclopedias or the library?
Oh, there you go, library. Because back then, of course, they didn't have the internet. So I spent a lot of time at libraries. I was reading medical journals. I was reading neurology papers and research, quantum physics, perception, psychology, pretty much any discipline I could find that might have something to do with perception and behavior and mood and whatever. Through all of this, I picked up bits and pieces of information, and thoughts and concepts started brewing in my head. Eventually, after about 40 years, I came across something called brainwave entrainment. And that was using light or sound to alter brainwave activity to feel better, to get different perceptions. For whatever reason, I thought this has to be the key because I had tried everything else, or I probably didn't try everything else, but it felt like I tried everything after 40 years of hunting. And when I tried it, I thought it's checking all the boxes, it's dotting all the I's, it's crossing all the T's. But when I used it, it didn't help me. And I got super depressed again. But something in the back of my mind said, no, this is still going to help you. So I kept trying. There were like dozens of different types and companies that were making them. I couldn't find
Absolutely.
anything that helped. Yeah. So I ended up deciding that maybe, one of the things I noticed was all these companies were doing the same thing. It was the same as what they did 10 years before and 15 years before and 20 years before. And I thought, but that doesn't make sense to me. Human existence is about evolution. It's about change. Everything changes. I used to have a full head of hair. I could take a shower and for 10 minutes, I wouldn't feel the water on my head. Okay, that's a change. Now I can feel a humidity in the air, never mind water rolling down my head. So I decided that I need to take all this information I've been learning over the last 4 decades and start applying it to change the brainwave entrainment science. When I did that, the very first time I listened, it took me a month to listen to my first recording that I designed. The reason why it took so long was the first 2 weeks I was thinking to myself, well, what's going on here? There's a problem. I'm afraid. What if it doesn't work? My last hope. If it doesn't work, I'm totally screwed. I got over that after 2 weeks. Another 2 weeks I had to wait because I thought, what if it did work? What if it made it worse? Finally, I realized, well, you know what? How much worse can it get? My life is already miserable. So I tried it. It was a half-hour recording. It felt like half an hour. I thought I heard everything that was in it. I felt no different at all. I was this close. I was thinking, damn, it did nothing. I'm screwed for the rest of my life. Except one thing. One of my symptoms was that I used to hear thousands of voices in my head all the time. All the time. Another symptom was that any little thing would go wrong, I'd go into a super depression. So right after the session ended, I thought, this is it. I'm screwed. One voice came back to me and said, did you really expect 40 years of this to go away in one 30-minute listening? And I thought to myself, good point. I didn't go into a super depression. That was one really big thing. The second really big thing was 5 minutes after the session ended, I started hearing the thousands of voices coming back. I didn't even know they were gone. I knew I was onto something because in a dark, dark room, it's very easy to see a pinprick of light. And
Yeah.
that's what I saw. I saw that pinprick of light. And that was back in 2005. I have 40 products now. I have 50 more that I'm working on, all of which have proprietary techniques and technologies. And I've helped over 10,000 people across the world. And this is the year where I start helping millions. So that's why
Absolutely.
I'm your secret sauce. By the way, I'm my own secret sauce too.
Well, we always start with ourselves, don't we? So you use some technology and some terms. I want to back up to the beginning. Entrainment is where synchronicity happens. Is that correct? So could you explain what brain entrainment is?
Sure. So your brain is made up of billions of neurons, cells, and these neurons communicate chemically and electrically, so electrochemically. The neurons pulse. They don't pulse like the heart pulses, but they pulse like flicking on a light switch, on and off, on and off, on and off. And depending on how many times your neuron is firing per second, that dictates the state you're in or that neuron is in. So when people talk of alpha, theta, beta, delta, gamma, they're really just talking about how many times a neuron is pulsing in a second. That's all that means. Depending on the region of the brain and how many times it pulses, that dictates the kind of chemistry that neuron produces, things like endorphins and hormones and neurotransmitters. And these are all things, all these neurochemicals and electric impulses and pulse rates combine to create a chemical reaction that allows you to experience your life. So you're happy, you're sad, you're turned on, you're turned off, you're hungry, whatever you are, you don't feel it or notice it unless your brain creates that chemistry. So what
Yeah.
I do is I create sounds primarily, but also visual stimulation. So you put on headphones and or video, like on a TV monitor or on your phone or on a tablet, computer, whatever. And it flickers or pulses at a specific rate per second because of a feature in everybody's brain called the frequency following response. Now, this is the same response you have when you're listening to music and you're bopping your head mindlessly or tapping your toes. That's you're responding to the beat of the music. Well, this is me focusing in on your neurons and allowing them to mimic the beat pattern that I am presenting. By doing that, I can help modify the kind of electroneurochemical response your brain creates. And that is what's responsible for how you feel and
So
how
if
you
our
experience.
emotions are frequency and that frequency is the rate of speed of these pulsing,
Yes.
are you saying that when we listen to your technology with headphones, it is very pleasant and relaxing, and it kind of feels like you're wasting time because you should be busy doing something, but it is actually changing the speed of the way all of that chemical processes and neuro firings are happening? Is that how
That's
it's happening?
really well put. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I was, when I was developing this, still working for other people, I was working in the content department of one of the largest content providers on the internet, and I was doing a job that took everyone else 8 hours in 4 because when I was testing the recordings on myself, I was coming up with clever new ways of doing the job that no one else thought of that made it that much more efficient. So half the day I was doing my job and getting compliments on my job, by the way. And the other half of the day I was being paid by a company to do my own research into my own business and my own brain and my own mood and my own attitude and all of that. So interesting how you said it feels like you're wasting time, but in reality, you're optimizing time.
I absolutely love that, because the one thing that I really drew me to this technology was hearing about cults and how cults could brainwash, and the Kool-Aid, drink the Kool-Aid, that whole effect. And I'm thinking, how can somebody control all of these people? There has to be some sort of brainwashing. Well, if an external force can brainwash me without my knowledge or consent, what can I do when I'm consciously choosing and deciding and participating in the process?
Brilliant. Yeah, you see, that's the discovery people need to realize. There are a lot of people, like I said, I was depressed and anxious and all these problems. When we realize, and I shouldn't be speaking for other people, but I'll use it in generic terms. When we realize that we feel bad, or we feel stressed, or we feel anxious, or we feel depressed, and when we realize that in a way that was a choice, in a
Mhm.
way there were decisions we made, we chose to put energy and thoughts into certain areas and not into others, it made us experience what we're experiencing. It's proof to you that you can feel good. You just have to make a choice to feel good. That allows you to choose to do different things, to choose to think about different things. I've been injured quite a lot, which I alluded to. I'm in pain pretty much all the time. Interestingly enough, though, when it gets overwhelming, I almost never feel pain right here, right in the tip of my baby finger. Even if the rest of my body is on fire, the tip of my baby finger or some other spot of my body, I can find where there is no pain. And I've noticed that if I start concentrating on that one part, all the other parts get better. They don't necessarily go away, but the perception of the pain and the discomfort goes down. The logic of knowing that I felt worse in other situations and now I feel better lets me know that no matter how I feel now, I will feel better. There will come a time when this isn't as bad as it is now. And just knowing that helps me to speed up that response.
Well, that's allowing it to just happen organically. But you can at any moment in time decide, because I just finished doing a video on TikTok about fear and how fear is like a warning sign. It is a sign that tells us to be aware, take caution. We can use our feelings, our experiences, our current reality, our circumstances, whatever it is information to make a decision and say, I don't want this. And we can then reprogram our brains, which changes our perception, our reality, and we can actually change our physical DNA.
Oh, yeah,
Am I correct?
sure. You know, the biggest thing fear tells me is that I'm not in the moment. Because in my reality, we I can't experience fear because future doesn't exist, neither does the past. If you think about what you had for dinner yesterday, you're thinking about it now. When you were eating it and actually chewing, it was now. In the future, when it gets here, it's now. Fear can only exist in the future because you can't have fear at the moment. You can only have fear because you're afraid of something to come. When you're dealing with something, that's not fear. That's something else entirely. So when we understand that you can't breathe or eat in the past and you can't breathe or eat in the future, that means that there is no past, there is no future. So when I have fear or I'm dwelling on the past, I realize I'm not focusing in on right now. And if I take care of now, I don't have to worry about, quote unquote, the future, because A, it doesn't exist, and B, it's simply now. It's only now. That's all any of us have. If you're 95 years old and you look at a 16-year-old, you have the same now they do. I mean, an asteroid could fall in 2 seconds and wipe them out, and you're still alive. I mean, there's only now.
But
Once we wrap our
but
head around
but
that,
still, yeah, but still, if we are heading for a cliff and we see a sign and the sign says warning ahead, the road is gone and there is a cliff, and that is designed to stop us and give us information that something is coming ahead. And now we have a choice. When that fear comes up, uh-oh, there's danger up ahead. Now we can make a choice. Do I wish to continue on this trajectory and experience what the warning is about? Or do I choose to change direction and reprogram my reality?
that's a good point. You see, for me, it's not fear, though. It's simply information. That's all it is.
Yes.
I don't have to be afraid that there's a cliff there. I know there's a cliff there. I stop. Big deal. Why am I afraid? I don't have to be afraid. The trick here is you see, you're always right and I'm never wrong. It's that simple. That's exactly how it works. Because I think we all exist in our own universe.
Yes.
You look at something, I look at something. We see the same thing, but it's interpreted differently. Quantum physics says nothing exists until it's observed. Whenever observes things, we don't just observe something, we give it meaning, we give it, intention, we give it a definition. Whatever you see exists in your universe. Whatever I see exists in my universe. So even though we're under this impression that we're existing in the same universe, we're really not, because we
No.
experience everything differently, we interpret everything differently. Because of that, like I said, you're always right and I'm never wrong. I used to wait for someone like you to be quiet so I could tell you how wrong you are, because I thought I knew everything. Right? Then I realized, but since I adopted this philosophy, and this is just like 6, 7, 8 months ago that I made this decision, that I realized that you see what you see and you say it in terms that make sense in your universe. I see what I see. I'd say it in terms that make sense in my universe. Now that I'm not waiting for you to be quiet, I'm actually hoping you keep talking so I can learn more, because you're seeing the
Well,
universe differently than I am.
yeah. And Morry, we are going to talk about these differences in the quantum field and the reality that we live in. But we're going to have to do that when we come back from this commercial break. So, for those of you who are taking a moment to grasp what we're saying, this is a perfect time for you to check out Morry's link and subscribe to Unlearn the Crap. We'll be right back after this commercial.
Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like, it was almost instant. Like, I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic on the BBM Global Network, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of the Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on the Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
So with Unlearn the Crap, I always talk about the fact that we have choice and we have the ability to make decisions based on relativity. And that means that our reality is true for us based on our perception, on how we choose to see it. And all we have to do is change our relative perspective. Find a 360, a 180, a different way of looking at it, and we change our reality. And so I love the fact that your method is called the quantum mind method. And I absolutely love the fact that we can take self-knowledge, self-awareness, and now become self-programming to choose what it is we want. So we're in the new year right now. And there's a lot of people who want better health, better weight, better money. They want to design their life. How do we use the quantum method to change our perspective wired in our brain?
So that's the thing. If we believe something is wired in our brain, that makes it a little tough to change. But if we understand that our brain is malleable and that we have chosen to make it the way it is and to believe what we choose to believe, nature has built us with all kinds of sensor systems that most of us, in my view, tend to ignore. Mm-hmm. If you're not achieving the financial gains you want, if you're not achieving the health desires you have, or the relationship desires, or the business desires, that's not a bad thing. That's just nature's way of telling you you're doing and or thinking the wrong things for you. And it's not because you're not valuable, and it's not because you're not worthy, it's because you're not listening.
Oh, go on with that. What are we not
that's
listening
the thing.
to?
You're not listening to the universe, to yourself, that's trying to tell you that this is not right for you. When I was a kid, I played hooky from school. And I pretended I was sick. Well, I got very bored watching TV, and I went into the kitchen. My mom was on the phone talking to my aunt. She was cooking lunch and dinner, and heating elements were glowing. Back in those days, the elements were raised above the stove, and they were like yellow and orange and all these different colors. So, mommy, play with me. And she said, honey, go back, lie down. You're sick. You need to rest. You need to take care of yourself. And of course I didn't. But I did notice the cool colors of this heating element. And I reached out to touch it. And she said, honey, don't do that. You'll burn yourself. Very calm, sweet voice. This went on 5 or 6 or 7 times. Up until the 6th time, every time I reached out, she got really mad. And her voice was getting louder and angrier and louder and angrier and louder and angrier. Until the 7th time she missed me, and I burnt the crap out of my hand. I had these rings on my hand. Just bending it a little was agonizing for like weeks afterwards. That's an example of not listening. If I had listened to my mom, she would have saved me all that agony. But I wasn't listening. But every time I got closer to being an idiot, she got louder and more violent in her response. Does that sound familiar to anyone out there who maybe is having a life that isn't so easy, or seems to be getting worse, where you seem to get slapped instead of getting what you want? Stop misinterpreting this is bad luck. This is your sensor array. This is your internal self. This is God. If you want to believe in God, then it's God. It's your inner wisdom. It's your knowledge. It's the universal energy. It's whatever you want to call it, trying to teach you something. But if you're not listening, just like my mom, she's going to get louder and louder and louder and a little more violent and a little rougher with you until you start paying attention. So it's not bad stuff that's happening to you. In my view, we're misinterpreting these things as bad. Why? Because they hurt. So we relate that as bad, but we're not thinking it through. Think it through. Was it always this bad? If it's getting worse, there's a pretty good chance we're not hearing something. We're not learning something. We're not listening to something. And it loves us. God loves you. You love you. Your inner self loves you. The universe loves you. Whatever you want to call it, loves you. And it's trying to stop you from making your life miserable. But you're not listening. Instead, you're going, oh, my life sucks. Oh, why is so-and-so rich and I'm poor? Why does so-and-so have a great husband or wife and I have nobody? Why do they have a great dog and my dog pees all over the floor? It's because you're not listening. The universe loves you, all of you, everybody who's listening to this, the millions of people who will never hear this. The universe loves you. If your life isn't what you want it to be, step back, stop misinterpreting all of this with resistance. Instead, think, like I used to do this. That doesn't help. Now I do this.
I love that, because I say that my breakdown, because I had a full and complete total nervous breakdown and I lost everything. And I say that the universe was trying to get my attention, and it was talking to me, and it was whispering, and it was giving me physical symptoms, and my body was deteriorating. And I keep saying that I was too strong for too long because I wasn't listening. I just kept putting on my big girl panties and just kept soldiering on. I can do this. If it's to be, it's up to me. You're right. I wasn't listening until the universe said, okay, kaboom.
Yeah.
Do I have
Now
your
you have no choice.
attention now?
There you go. That's it. Understand that if things aren't going the way you want them to, it's not because you're supposed to be miserable. It's not because, like, I used to think I was Hitler from a previous life and I was here to pay for it now. It's because I wasn't listening. I honestly believe that it's because we're not listening. We're not learning. That's why. I'd like to encourage everyone out there, if they think there's something that's always getting worse in their lives or more stressful in their lives, to think back 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 35, 40 years and see if they can't really identify when the universe was going, honey, don't do this. It'll hurt you. Before it started going, stop it. Right?
Yeah.
We don't know. Like a lot of people eat garbage. They eat McDonald's every day. They eat crap every day. I used to have a joke about McDonald's that they have more plastic in their meat, in their hamburgers than they have in their cutlery. And it's like, it kills you. And they use Febreze with all the air fresheners. Like, people don't understand that the dynamics of actually smelling something means there has to be particles that you're inhaling. You don't smell something just because you smell it. You have sensors. And those sensors don't get activated unless particles. So I hate to say it, but if someone farts around you and you smell it, you can imagine what just went into your nose. But it's true though. And this is what you're breathing in when you have Febreze air sense plugged into your wall. When you use those dryer sheets and you see those commercials on TV where people are smelling something 8 weeks later and they still smell it, that's poison. It's all poison, and it's killing you so slowly that you don't recognize. Both of my parents died a couple of years ago. I believe they could both be alive and how much healthier now if they didn't argue with me about all the crap they were doing and saying, but I'm 78 years old and I'm not on any medicines. Well, I ask you to remember
or
this.
I've been doing this my whole life and I'm still alive.
Well, and slowly killing yourself, but it's like filling up a glass with water. It slowly fills up and eventually it overflows, but it doesn't overflow till it hits the top. When was the last time, like I used to have crappy cars and they were rusty. So just imagine the first day I noticed rust on my car. Is that the first day there was rust? Of course not. The rust was forming probably for years underneath the surface until it broke through and I could see it. That's what we're doing to our bodies. We have all this confidence that, oh, how bad can it be? I'm still alive. I'm 60 years old and I feel fine, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, well, you don't see the rust.
Yeah. And that is what we're doing to our lives in this when we're not listening and we're not taking control and making conscious choices into what we want. So we can have anything we want in 2025 and any other year that we choose. We just have to look at the information that is around us, listen to it, and use it as information. Does it empower me? Does it disempower me? Which one does it do and which one do I want it to do? And if it's not getting you the results you want, all you have to do is reprogram, re-choose, redirect, make a different choice. And I love your technology because it makes the process so easy.
Because it takes advantage of natural processes. You know, when you feel happy, when you feel sad, all these feelings are nothing more than chemical responses. The responses to chemistry. My systems allow your brain to go dominantly into different states that creates the kind of chemistry that makes you feel good. I was depressed for 40 years. What got me through it was, even though one 30-minute recording didn't cure me, it gave me that little pinprick of light in the dark room that I had never seen before. All you need to do is feel a little bit different to realize you can feel different. For 40 years, I didn't feel different. I felt the same. I ran this session for 30 minutes and for a few minutes, I felt different. That made me realize that I could feel different. It made me realize it's worth it to feel different.
That is the beauty of contrast. That is the beauty of the law of polarity, because it gives us those contrasts that we can see. That if you're only in the dark, and the dark is all there is, you don't have that pinprick of light to know you're in the dark. And so it requires the polarity, it requires that contrast so that we have the ability to discern and we have the ability to choose. Morry, I cannot wait for you to explain how all of this works. But we're going to have to take one more last commercial break. And when we come back, I want you to help people really understand that their life, their choices can be made so much easier, because so many times people say it's hard, it's hard. No, it's only hard because you're trying to do it the old way, the way that goes against our body, the way that goes against our natural systems, our natural programming. And what you do feels like magic, but all it is alignment. And we're going to talk about that when we come back from this commercial break. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to comment and share. We want to hear from you, and we'll be right back after this break.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
Okay, so you and I have been having a lot of fun talking about reality and choices, and we left with the fact that all we need to do is get ourselves into alignment. Could you explain the technology behind the quantum mind method?
Sure. So there's a bunch of different techniques utilizing quantum mind method. There is brainwave entrainment. So that is using tones. Basically, you hear shh and ba 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 ba, that kind of sound together. The sh sound acts primarily as a mask. So it's there to block out noises that might interfere with your session. The pulsed beat, the ba 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 ba, is the actual brainwave entrainment tone. That's the one that causes your neurons to start firing in unison, kind of like monkey see, monkey do. So if you hear bump, 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 this is your neuron, this is the pulse. They start doing the same thing. That releases the chemistry that we're looking for that helps people to feel better. There's guided meditation and hypnosis as well, included with brainwave entrainment tones. So, normally with meditation or hypnosis, you need to have things called deepeners and various other techniques that help get people into a relaxed state of mind. Brainwave entrainment removes that need. So, you can get right into the juice, right into the meat of the topic right away to reprogram the mind. So, there's that kind of technology. There's subliminal technology. So with the other recordings, you got to put on the ordinary over-the-head stereo headphones. You lay back or you sit back with head support and you just let it happen. With the subliminals, they're encoded at a very high frequency and they can be played in the background doing anything. Just all you have to do is be able to hear the background hiss, just a little bit in the background. It repeats over 2 million repetitions every hour of positive affirmational statements that help you to feel better about yourself in the areas of prosperity and in the area of health. There's a new technology that I've introduced as well called VI recordings. That stands for Visual Image Entrainment. And what these are is these are 3-minute videos that you can watch on your phone or TV or whatever. And they include images, brainwave entrainment tones, special techniques and technologies, and color gamuts that elicit positive responses in all the senses of your brain. These are things that are designed to be used at the moment. You're about to play a game, tennis or hockey or football or baseball. Maybe you're going into a meeting. Maybe you're about to have the biggest sales pitch of your life. You can watch this 3 minutes for 3 minutes before you go in, and it totally tunes you in. Then we also have mini systems, and these mini systems are there to help you, to help yourself in the 4 areas that most people, we did a study, and most people are worried about things like depression, anxiety, stress, and sleep. And we have systems that are mini systems specifically designed for all of these reasons. And that essentially is a ultra quick breakdown of the quantum mind method. There's a lot to it, but it's very easy to use and it's very effective. And like I said, when I was telling my story about work, you have to remember that even though it feels like you're killing time where you should be doing other things, you will become more efficient, more effective, and more stable and make less mistakes. You'll actually have more free time during the day taking this time out to run a session.
Okay, so I love what you just said, but you said something that has caught my attention because I am used to using the ones where I put them on and I take a half hour and I rest and relax. But are you telling me you have new technology that I wasn't aware of, that all I can do is play it in the background and I can continue to work, eat, sleep, do whatever I want, drive, and I'm reprogramming my brain for optimum performance?
With the subliminal recordings, yes. They're called time warp subliminals. And I actually have other technologies as well, but I can't put everything into one product. So,
I
but
understand.
yeah,
So
and those
seriously,
actually aren't new. The Vi recordings are new. These subliminals have always been there.
okay, so I can have them just in the background, like we listen to music or whatever,
Sure.
and my
You can even have
brain
them in the background while you're listening to music or watching TV. Just play them
so
over
can
a
you use
separate
it too
speaker.
much?
No. See, that's the thing. Uh, when we use chemicals to, put proteins into the neurons so that they continually release serotonin or dopamine or whatever they're designed to release, sometimes those proteins will not dissolve at the right time, and then you release too much of this chemistry and you can overdose, you can feel badly. With brainwave entrainment, that's not an issue because what happens is your brain knows when it has enough of something and it just doesn't do it anymore. When I was going through my deepest, darkest depression and I was still designing all of these things, I was listening 4 or 5 hours a day.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, you can't
Maury,
overdose it.
so for those people who want to know more, they're ready to take on their lives and make the changes that they choose. How do they reach out to you? What is the gift that you brought?
So there's a link just over my name. I believe it's in the chat as well. But that link will actually take you to Alpha Flight, which is a full featured 15 or 16-minute recording that will take you into a very nice alpha state and give you a pretty good indication as to what brainwave entrainment can do for you. You put an ordinary pair of stereo headphones. These things cost me $10 on Amazon. And all you need to do is put them on, hit play, close your eyes. You can even fall asleep. It makes no difference at all to the effectiveness. That goes for all of my recordings, by the way. You can fall asleep while you're listening. Makes no difference. You don't have to pay attention to anything I might be saying if I'm saying anything in them. Everything is done on an automated process. It takes advantage of natural processes in your brain, and everything happens naturally. The thing to remember here is whatever I'm doing with this program is happening to you every day anyway.
Mm-hmm.
We're just using science to speed it up and make it more efficient and effective for you.
And we're self-directing and self-choosing. Maury, I could talk to you for hours. I love our conversations. I've had you in my community, for everyone who is a part of the Unlearn the Crap community. I thank you so much for being my very first guest of 2025. And I am going to encourage everybody to take advantage of your free gift and check this out because it is so much easier than we've ever been taught to unlearn the crap and make the choices we want and design our life the way we want and live on purpose with passion and peace and full prosperity. And you're there with your technologies to help people make it easier. And I want to thank you for your contribution that you've brought to my life and to those that I have shared this offer with, and for everyone who's watching. Morry, I'm sorry you suffered for 40 years, but I'm so glad it brought you to this place. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'm grateful that you had me, especially as the first guest of the year, especially 2025, because this year is going to bring a lot of fantastic wonder to everyone's life, as long as you have the right attitude and the right idea. You all deserve it. So just open yourselves up to it, see the potential, and go for it when you have the chance, because you will. I promise.
I could not agree more. Thank you very much. And for all of you watching, next week we're going to have another amazing guest. We are here to help you make 2025 and every year, every day, the best it can possibly be. Thank you for watching. Continue to challenge everything so you can achieve anything. And join us again on Unlearn the Crap.
This has been Unlearn the Crap TV with your host, Kathy Baldwin. Tune in each week as Kathy challenges you to rethink everything you know about personal empowerment and societal structures. Thursdays, 4 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave TV network.